Here are your notes graphing exponential growth and decay. Notes 11-13, page 67. And the date is for 3/8. So the date for these notes is 3/8, and the definition that we have is exponential growth, which is described as an exponential function which is also a function based on y equals 2 to the x power. So we have an x value as our exponent. For example number 1, it says graph y equals 2 to the x power over the interval -2 to 2. So you're not continuing the function on with arrows. You are stopping at -2 and +2. And so we have 2 to the -2 power, which is 1 over 2 squared, which is 1 over 4. Then for -1, we have 2 to the -1 power, which is 1 over 2 to the first, or 1 over 2. Then we have 2 to the 0 power, and anything to the 0 power is 1. We have 2 to the first and 2 to the second, so 2 and 4. So when I graph this, it's going to go through the point 0, 1, and then the values on the negative side are going to start to get really, really close to the x-axis, but they're never going to quite touch the x-axis. For example number 2, we're going to graph y equals 4 to the x over the interval -3 to the value of 1. So we're graphing -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. So 4 to the -2 gives me 1 over 4 squared, which is 1 over 16. 4 to the -1 is 1 over 4 to the first, which is just 1 over 4. 4 to the 0 is 1. 4 to the first is 4. And then I have slipped in 4 to the -3 down here at the bottom as 1 over 4 to the third, which is 1 over 64. A very, very small number, close to the x-axis, but never touching the x-axis when we graph it. And if I graph the others, you'll start to see that curve, and we're stopping at an x value of +1. So our graph looks like this. Example number 3, it says the New York Volleyball Association invited 64 teams to compete in a tournament. After each round, half of the teams were eliminated. Which equation represents the number of teams T that remained in the tournament after R rounds? So, the number of teams that remained is 64 times 1 minus, well, 50% or half of them were eliminated. 50% is the same as 0.5, and we are doing exponential decay because the teams are disintegrating and being kicked out of the tournament or eliminated. If we clean this up, we have 64 parentheses 1 minus 0.5, which is 0.5, to the R power, which would be choice 4. Example number 4 is a review question. The quotient of the polynomial 8x to the 5th minus 2x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 6x squared all over 2x squared is equivalent to what? So we're going to take each of the monomials and we are going to divide them by the 2x squared. 4x cubed divided by 2x squared, and the last 6x squared divided by 2x squared. So here I have 4x to the 3rd minus x squared, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, plus 2x to the first, which I don't have to write the first, minus 3, and then this would be x to the 0, and that's just 1. So the answer that I am looking for is choice 4. Number 5 says Marcy determined her father's age is 4 less than 3 times her age. If x represents Marcy's age, which expression represents her father? Well, if x represents Marcy and her father, his age is 4 less than 3 times her age. So we're doing 3 times her age, and we're taking away 4 from that. So we are talking about choice 1. In example number 6, it says, on the set of axes below, draw the graph y equals 2x over the interval -1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. Will this graph ever intersect the x-axis? Justify your answer. Well, let's find a table of values for -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Those are the values they're talking about in this such inequality or interval. And 2 to the -1 would be 1 over 2 to the first. 2 to the 0 is 1. 2 to the first is 2. 2 to the second is 4. 2 to the third is 8. We're going to plot these points. And +2, 2, 4, and 3, 8. We are going to draw our curve that stops over from -1 all the way over to 3. That's our interval. And now we have to decide or justify why is it that this graph never, or will it ever intersect the x-axis? No, it will never intersect the x-axis because there is no value for x to have y equal to 0. Your job for extra credit, you have 2 scenarios to pick from. You're going to write this up on an answer, your answer on a full piece of paper with a complete heading to turn in for extra credit. Scenario number 1, would you rather get $1 per day for 30 days for an allowance? So your parents are paying you an allowance. They're going to give you $1 each day for 30 days. Or would you rather have your parents give you a penny on the first day and have that amount double each day for 30 days? You get to keep the sum of all of the amounts from the 30 days as your allowance. Decide which one you would rather have, which one, and justify why you would rather have that amount or that scenario. Turn that in for extra credit for tomorrow. Have a great night.